Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin from MikeLevinSEO.com, and it is Monday, August 25th, about 9 p.m. and I'm out walking the big guy, and no coding today because I was out talking to a very interesting company. Really excited about the outcome of that and so far, and I am thinking more than ever about following through on and finishing this free and open source SEO tool project called Gropey that I put in GitHub, and I am gonna try and kickstart my ability to stay focused on it and continue the YouTube video series that I had started, maybe polish it up a bit, put a little more production value, because you see how good I am at shooting videos. I guess some people like this sort of Blair Witch effect here, but I think most people like produced pieces. So I'll probably continue my dog walks, because it's not like they're going away, and it's not like I won't want to be using this time for idea capture. I'm really getting quite attached to this process. I think it works. I think it is the two big C's, commitment and consistency, that I was looking for from Robert Cialdini's principles of persuasion that's generally used on other people when they sign petitions and they know their neighbors are going to see their petitions. When you do something publicly, you have more chance of following through, because in order to stay consistent with the image of yourself that you want for yourself, that you're presenting to your neighbors, you actually have to do what you said. So I want to finish Gropey. I want to turn it into one of many paths to Python education and technical literacy that are available. And I want to do this on the Raspberry Pi so that everybody's tutorials are nearly identical, so that the learning experience is like using a textbook where you turn the page and there aren't a zillion variables that can make it go wrong, or that sort of being held captive and hostage by vendors. There's no reason apps like this should have to be iPad apps. They should be, you know, just videos everywhere that everyone can watch, in such a way that it can be licensed according to one of the content licenses online and let out into the appropriate marketplace or ecosystem for its license, so that people can either consume it for free, if that's the type of distribution license, or people pay a rental or buy rights to it, just like in any of the marketplaces that exist for media today. You know, it's like I can just as readily now go to the Amazon video service, or iTunes, or Google Play on my Android phone. I'm actually into now. And it's like, hey, they're all just marketplaces. I own this here, I own that there. So long as each of these companies continues to be around, and or at least transfers that media ownership as an asset that has to be managed to whoever takes it over, you'll still be able to access it. And so I propose a general technology education that makes you not have to be captive to these vendors who are trying to, you know, turn it into, as Arthur C. Clarke said, any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic. Well, there has to be some debunking, some demystifying of the magicification that's taking place, unfortunately, with technology. I love the devices, I love my smartphones, I love my tablets, but they don't let people become powerful citizens in the knowing how to program sense quite so much as they turn them into just consumers of media, be that media movies or music or apps. They're consumers. And there has to be a parallel education path. Something that is as addictive to the right type of mind as video games are today, as video watching, going from one YouTube video to the next, or one Vine video clip to the next, or whatever the addiction du jour. One of the du jours ought to be a righteous path of technical know-how, able to be committed to muscle memory like any other tool, so that you can focus on the things that are important instead of remembering how to do tasks in a machine-structured language. The machine-structured language should, shall we say, roll off your tongue just as naturally as English. And in that way, you can be the master of your environment, your world, your career, your ... fill in the blank. There is no doubt that programming and the whole grab bag of related skills that go along with programming are the fourth R of literacy: reading, writing, arithmetic, and programming. Some would use R for reason as the fourth R, and others would point out, is there really even a difference? So there's many paths to this. I'm not claiming to be the first nor the best. I am claiming to be the most available, the most realistic, because it's based on a device that is sold in quantities of 3 million, so there's something there. And that foundation that decided what to call themselves and that device chose Raspberry Pi. Pi was for Python, and the original device was intended to be a lot more like the Rascal, which is something that's out there that costs, I believe, over $100. And in their, very spot-on wisdom, they said, nope, price point needs to be $25 or $35. How about 25 without networking, 35 with? And it needs to have killer graphics so it'll get the kids. You remember what made the Commodore 64 and such popular? It was the games, stupid. They pirated and traded games with each other so that they could get all the kick of like an Atari 2600 or any home video game system without having to pay for the games. They were pirates, and some of them then became hackers and programmers. Hey, Dan. And it's a obvious path that can be followed for any kid smart enough to see the clues and to follow the trails in the 80s. And it doesn't need to be, shouldn't be a generation-specific event. And that's what the Raspberry Pi Foundation fixed. There is textbook computer hardware now. I only just wish that ARM design for the processor and the component parts were all actually free and open source. Open source designs does not mean that these devices can be printed out on home prefab equipment without paying anyone a license fee, and particularly not resold. But someday there will be that, and when there is that, my education will shift to that, because there reaches a point where relatively cheap home, or at least high school equipment will be able to print out every component needed for some spiffy new device, including the processing chips, with system on a chips of their own design, with processing architectures of their own design. It doesn't even need to be the familiar architectures. They can do experimental new stuff to optimize for the application in the hardware. So it goes on, but you get the point. Someone needs to tell people what the heck is going on, because pop culture certainly isn't going to do it. Where is this? It's just the review of the next tech gizmo device, which is not hacking and maker, that is consumer. So I'm here to help show you the hacker, maker, programmer side of the world that will allow you to do things that are highly technical without hardly even thinking about it, so that the creative side of the project can consume that much more of your focus and attention. So all of this being technical stuff is to just amplify the effectiveness of your creativity. Thanks for joining me, and support my Kickstarter. My slice of the pie. My slice of the pie, with PIE as the last three characters, which I guess has to be specified these days because there are three possibilities. Bye.